Aloha everyone, this is Leimomi Keliikuli, and I'm here with with my Leimomi TV interview series, and I'm here with Candice Box, and she is an amazing person. We've actually met each other several times, and also she's gone through my program, so I'm really excited to introduce her to my audience. So why don't we start with telling us more about who you are, what you do. How did you really become a master genius at what you do today?
Thank you, Leimomi, for having me here. Well, I'm a master soul alchemist, spiritual healer, and I'm also a co-founder for Soul Evolution, which is mine and my business partner's company where we run retreats, programs, and online courses. And I love what I do. I actually didn't fall into this space until about 5 years ago when I discovered I had all these amazing talents with energy work. And so I work a lot with the chakras, and especially where we have woundings within them. And we don't realize this, but our chakras hold on to all these negative beliefs, these patterns, and these habits that then can conform our reality. But when we begin to heal them, they shed away. And then all of a sudden, we're like stepping into our main purpose and our soul's work, where we can unveil the mission of the universe.
Ooh, I love that. I love how you've incorporated like the chakra and the past beliefs and the energy work that goes behind it on top of like what's the mindsets, what's going on here, how you can, move forward in a way that feels most authentic.
Oh, it's so important because we're so ingrained with so many different beliefs and other people's ideas of how we should be. And so to be able to uncover all of that and heal those wounds and allow our chakras to run optimally, then we're like this major rainbow bridge from heaven to earth, so to speak, so that we can really walk this path that is in divine guidance.
Yes, that's what we need to do.
Oh, yeah.
So from your perspective of your genius, why is it important to know, such things, right? In order to create a, life of success, like why is that important to know the chakras, to know about your wounds and the mindsets? Like, why is that important?
Well, Albert Einstein said it perfectly, where energy is everything. And we actually have been focusing on physical realm, a lot of other things, but we forget about energy. And the chakras are our main energy centers. And if they're governing our lives, then everything that you want is within that energy system. And if you're not in alignment, then you're operating from something else that is not your true purpose. It's other people's purposes. So when you know it completely and deeply, then it actually, you don't even have to do anything. You just show up and be present and then follow the promptings of your soul.
That's so true. We never really think about, hey, like how is my energy affecting anything else in my life at all, And then the only time you really pay attention is when you feel blocked. Right? Like, what happened here? Or something in your past, like, really came up in your face. You're like, okay, I got to deal with that now, but so what do I do?
Right. And that's when we can make the greatest changes of like paying attention to what our energy is saying to us. Because a lot of times within our energy houses so much information, that's what they call light. The light of our chakras has this information, like this code of what's within us that is not being shared, said, done, or dealt with, that is keeping us stuck.
That's true. We can't see it until it comes up to light.
Right. Right. Exactly, because they're lying hidden, dormant. And so, maybe you've done a lot of work, you've done a lot of personal growth, healing work, and all of a sudden you get in that stuck block. And the reason why is because that fragment, that piece of you has been hiding in the dark. And so it comes to light, which it follows your path, but it's like, where am I? What's going on? I'm still stuck at age 9 and I'm feeling, super sad and ashamed because of something. So we have to bring ourselves to that energy and love on it and show it the right path.
Right. Show it the light.
Yes, exactly.
It's like exactly that, right?
Yes.
So when you were growing up as a child, like what lit you up? Like how does that play into who you are like today? Like why does that, how did that create what you're interested in now today?
Well, when I was little, I always was the soother. So I helped a lot of people, like my family. Like my family is a Filipino family. So we had all of our relatives and family members living under one roof. And when something was happening, I knew it all, right? And I would just, and I'd be there and I'd soothe them and I'd just offer them, love and funness and support. And then as I grew up, I actually was someone that everyone always came to for advice because I always could see things a little bit differently. Like I had a different perspective of things. And then I would also begin to massage them. And so I was already gravitating towards other people's energy and healing them until I finally started taking courses and being guided in how to utilize the energy. Then now I'm able to really harness that energy and work with it better.
I guess it took a while to be like, oh, this is what's going on. Like, this is how I created it. Because at first you're just like enjoying it and seeing words that lead me. And then like, you're like, oh, wait, I should really learn a little bit more structure of what I'm doing, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, what's funny is about 10 years ago, I was really resistant to energy. Like a lot of my religious background had deemed it, bad and wrong. And so I actually avoided it. And I was in a place where I felt like I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. And I was really troubled over what were my next steps. And I actually went to a healer and she pointed out that energy work was my next my next career. And so what happened was I was like, no, no, no. But a week later, my friend shows up and talks to me about this energy school that she's about to join. And she said, they're doing open enrollment right now. And I was like, oh my God, okay. If this is a sign, then it's something I need to be doing. So I did. And it totally, it's got me back onto my path.
Wow. I
Yeah.
love that story.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit more, like another vulnerable story about your life or business. Like, what did it feel like being misaligned? Like, how did you get back into alignment? Like, where did you need to go? What were the things that you need to do in order to get back into your path that you're doing now?
Well, what's interesting is I was very codependent, and so a lot of my energy went to boys or my boyfriends or men or whatever it is throughout my whole life. And so I was very distracted by that. And so I led that kind of lifestyle of always looking for the right guy, the right person. But unbeknownst to me, I had a lot of commitment issues based on my family history and everything like that. So when I began to uncover those energies, I realized like all of this energy that's pouring through me right now to like develop who I am is like going out to, giving to these guys that weren't really who I was supposed to be with, but I was trying to make it them. And so when I began to go, no more, that's enough. I'm now just going to focus on me. I finally got myself back on track. And I began to heal those non-committal issues. I began to see where I had betrayal. I began to see where I was actually mean to the nice guys and, attracting all the players, right? And so it was like a huge awakening and aha moment, like where I was spending this energy, because I had watched all these movies about falling in love, and that's all that I really wanted, where I didn't learn how to fall in love with myself. And so I had to go in and look at where my energy was going. And finally I came to this position of like really taking care of me and taking that spiritual healing journey to discovering more of who I am.
I love how you explain how like one of the tangible thing that's normally your pattern, you can totally like change that from a wound, right? Like from a circumstance, from this is just what I don't want, to like, hey, I could actually change this stuff because it's where I'm putting my energy. Where do I want to actually put my energy? And then getting that clarity like shifts everything for you, right?
Yeah. And that was the thing, is I had to hit bottom. and be in my bed and depressed and all sad and thinking life is not working out for me, to realize like, no, I'm just focusing on the wrong thing. Like, oh, hello. And that's where, you know, a lot of people are right now. You know, they think that they're down in the dumps, nothing's working for them, but there's always a helping hand there to like guide you out. You just have to open your eyes and look in the other direction, because it's always there.
Mm-hmm. And it could be in the life area you never really thought that was a problem. Well, you kind of know it's a problem, but like never really addressed it because you didn't know like how to use your energy in the right way.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. And I think our mind, our ego needs to know why, when actually our spiritual selves can just really clear it and move on. We stop ourselves with our mind of like trying to figure it all out. And so that's what I also provide is I go into like past lives and soul records where I can help them see where all of these belief patterns came from in the first place that keep them stuck and from moving forward, because lifetime after lifetime, we actually repeat these same stories, and with the same people sometimes too.
Right, right. So can you maybe walk us through that process? Like, you know, when they're learning how to like heal those like wounds, those like in your chakras and everything. Like, what do you end up like? Where do you end up taking them? I'm pretty sure they're interested. Like, with that process.
We all each have major woundings, and we have them. We all have the chakra wounds, right? But some of us have one more than the other. And mine was the fourth heart chakra wound, which is a lot of betrayal. So for me, I keep a big wall up sometimes when I get too close to people. Like I can chat away with strangers and have fun, but when you start getting intimate with me and getting into my space and becoming my best friend or whatever, that's when I start to push away. And what happened is that I realized that it stems from a betrayal. And the betrayal can come from your family members, it can come from loved ones, and it also can come from God, source, universe, thinking that I'm not supported, I'm not loved, and I have to do things on my own. And so and when I do a reading in the soul records, I find out like what are those circumstances that made me believe that way. And you know, one of the biggest ones that I found was divorce and separation, right? When my mom and dad divorced, I realized like I began to build this resentment and grudge between both of them, because now they're ruining my life, right? And so, and then from that, it's like, if that's how they're being, then guess who I think is also doing that to me too? God, source, universe, which ultimately is myself. So I'm constantly betraying myself and my dreams and everything that I want. And so when I go through the records, I'm finding out what are the emotions I'm harboring, who are the people I'm in conflict with, and then I begin to like drop down that heart wall so that I no longer imprison myself. And in that moment, you know, my heart hurts when it breaks open, right? It's like the hardest and the scariest thing, because I've been protecting myself for so long. So when someone actually is loving me, it hurts. and I'm just sitting there like I'm trying to receive, I'm receiving. And so I work with people the same way, and I help them with mantras, I help them with affirmations, as well as learning how to love themselves and take care of themselves through the process.
I love that process, because you're basically getting them to be inspired to do a different life, like a different action that they're doing, and then realizing, okay, I have that in the past, but now what am I going to choose? Am I going to let that run my life?
Right. And the important thing to remember is that piece is always a part of me. So whenever someone triggers it, it's always going to rise up, because it's who I've been for so long. So it's to know that that's just a fragment of you, like I was talking about earlier, that doesn't have to control your life anymore. There's a new power, new sense of you that knows that now, that then you can choose differently.
Mm-hmm. So you create a new pattern. Exactly. And heal that wound in that chakra.
Yeah, because now I can laugh at myself all about it.
Right. Do you find like a lot of people have like a lot of different chakras that are like that?
Oh
Or
yeah.
is usually like one or two, or is it really like five?
Well, what I found that when I began healing through it, like my major one was the fourth heart chakra. And then as I uncovered that, then I found out now I have like the third and the second are rising up. Like I said, they remain
Ah,
hidden until you begin to open it up, because the fourth heart chakra is the warrior in me. So it's like keeping everything at bay, but also protecting myself. So the wounded aspects within me, within like the second, third, the first, the fifth, are remaining in the background. But now that it can have a voice, because this one isn't as strong, then those rise up and they're like, look at me, help me too.
right.
So we go through cycles of uncovering all these unconscious things within us.
Hmm. And then you kind of guide them to take that next step, which is like choose it differently.
Right. And then so most of the clients that I work with, they are not the same. They are completely different because they're uncovering all of those parts of themselves energetically and starting to take new perspectives and new actions and new choices that lead them into their new chapter in their lives.
Mm. So do you try to help them at a level like, let's say, for example, that they just went through a divorce, or you kind of like take them to where they're at and try to get them where they actually want to go?
Exactly. I have a woman right now that was just in so much, anger and betrayal, and all she wanted to do was hurt, her ex-husband. But we came to finally the understanding of why it all had to happen in the first place, because her mission didn't include him anymore. And
Mm.
unfortunately, for her to actually change her life, a betrayal had to happen so that she can get on her most perfect path at the moment. And everything that she created was not for in vain, because she bore like two beautiful kids out of it, and at the same time it was completed. There was no longer a purpose, even though she thought it was the perfect marriage, which then we begin to uncover like why it really wasn't. And she's in gratitude, but she still has the little grudges, but she's in gratitude with, the new path that she's creating, because she's finally accepted the whole reason why things had to come about.
Mm. I think that's really important to see that. So although that was a really horrendous, terrible situation, and of course you come all frustrated and angry and just like betrayed, then you go from, okay, what do I do to change that? And sometimes you need that person or someone to help you in that process and be like, that's not how I want to live my life. I don't want to be so angry at anybody. But that's really a choice too, right? She
Oh,
had a big
absolutely.
choice
Yeah,
to
and
change it.
that's the thing, is like what we think our life should be is not always what divine source God has in plan for us.
Exactly. Totally not the way you can even imagine. But taking that experience and that lesson to a whole nother level and transforming it into something good.
Yeah. And especially one of her biggest visions is to reach enlightenment. And so I was showing her where, this was not leading her to the enlightened path. That kept her in disillusionment, and also thinking that this was it for her life. And if she would have stayed with him, it would have just been that, a comfortable life. But, we sometimes have so much more in store for us. And especially with this big shift and new paradigm happening, a lot of us are being called, and our whole worlds are being shifted and changed and rocked. And so I'm finding there's a lot of people right now needing that guidance to learn to listen to their inner selves.
Mm-hmm. And it goes the same with for you. So like when you feel like giving up, like what keeps you going? Like what's the thing that keeps you going?
What keeps me going is my family. There's their devotion and loyalty to me is amazing, because I've never felt that before. I felt like I didn't have a family that I can talk to about all of these things. and they know me because I finally have opened up to them and let them into my heart. And so because they see my magnificence, I can see myself. And from that, I keep going because I know that that's the purpose, you know, that I'm meant to be here to share that shift, the change and the love, just as I've done with so many other people, because they keep having so many breakthroughs, and I'm just like, okay, this is where I am. This is what I'm being called to do right now. So that keeps me going when I hear all the stories of like, wow, oh my God, I never would have seen this. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So how do you define success? Like what kind of pain, of course, you have to endure to get to that point? Well, okay, what is success for me?
Honestly, success right now for me is a balance of all the levels of spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. And I'm seeing that because I'm not letting my thoughts overrun me, I'm not letting my emotions really take a hold of me anymore. Like when my husband and I have a conflict, it used to be like weeks on end, and now it's only like a day or even a few short hours. And I feel like that's successful because a lot of people stew and hold grudges and resentments for so long. But now I'm able to move myself from that lower vibrational realm to a higher one in like that. And that's huge to me because that never used to happen. And so from that, from being able to change my thinking, my thoughts, then I'm also able to manifest. Like the other day, I was like, you know what? There's some money issues that are coming up for me right now. Like my car just broke down. We moved into a new place, this is my new place. And I'm like, okay, I know I can do this, but the fear is coming through about finances. And then the next moment I had a client that was like willing to pre-purchase a whole bunch of sessions. And it's like, oh, thank you, God, universe. And I just stay in gratitude because I never know what's going to happen. And even though the fear is there, it always shifts it because I stay in gratitude and trust.
Mm-hmm. I love how you define that success can be just something very simple like that, right? Like, okay, not fighting, fighting for like a whole week, holding that grudge, and then it could just be a couple of hours. Like most people think success is like how many money I got in the bank account, how many people follow me, or, like those kind of numbers. But I think it's really important to define like even those little things of what is it like for you to feel that fulfillment. And success can be defined in so many different ways, but we always think of on the outer side, right? Yes. Of what that might look like.
Yeah, I think basically for me, success is finally having such a peace in my heart that knowing no matter what, I'm okay and everything will be okay.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So what advice you would give to someone who wants to get in their genius, as you have, like what helped you decide to do that work, the work that you love, to create your soul line business, to really become an expert in your industry? Like when they're kind of starting out, they're kind of like, oh, I don't know, what should I be doing? What advice would you give to them?
I believe the biggest thing for me is to trust myself, because I've gone through so much and I've always overcome so much. And I think everyone's that way. That's the beauty of humanness, is that we're really always trying to be the best version of ourselves. And if you can trust yourself and know that you're not going to make those same mistakes, even though they're like at your back trying to overshadow what you wish and what you want to do, that if you can trust yourself, you'll always lead yourself in the right direction. And if it is so-called mistake or failure, it actually is something that you needed to know so that when the bigger picture unfolds, you're not going to make the mistake in the bigger picture.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
I think we forget about let go of the bigger picture sometimes and just let the process unfold.
Mm-hmm.
We spend so much time trying to figure out what the heck is the bigger goal, but you can never really know it because you can only digest so much that source gives you.
Right. I mean, I've set intentions left and right over so many things, but ultimately when I look back, I'm like, some of the things that have happened that have been so amazing, I never imagined, I never even thought about, and I'm just always constantly changing. So it's a true surrender that you really don't know what's in store for yourself. You just got to keep doing what you need to do in the present moment and show up for it, and make that choice in that moment, because that's the true creative potential that we have, is our ability to choose what it is we want in that moment.
Exactly. Ooh, that's really it's true. Choose in the very moment, be present, and let it unfold, let it just happen the way it's supposed to, because you cannot imagine how much more beautiful it could be.
No, not at all.
Because we're usually not ready for it in the first place.
No, we're not. We only can conceive of things that we think we want and think what we need, but at the same time, it's like, I don't want to limit myself to that. And when you can just, that's when you're in true divine guidance, is if you let go of the whole idea of what you think you know and just let it be. And it's actually more spectacular and beautiful than you could have ever imagined, if you're not holding on to the attachment of what you thought it might be.
Right. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Any last things you want to, say to the audience? Anything else, last things you want to share before we
Well,
go?
I think the biggest thing is Leimomi is the bomb. She really,
Thank you.
I met her in a time of my life that I was uncertain about some of the choices I'm making in the business realm, because there's so many so-called gurus out there, and sharing their stories, sharing a system, sharing a way. And the beauty of what she does is she just brings you back to what your main powers are. And when she reminded me of who I am and what I do, and come back into my intuitive gifts, then business began to be more aligned with myself, not someone else's way, not a system's way. It's just who I am. And that's more powerful than any business model that I know. So thank you.
Oh, yeah, you amazingly changed since we met. From the moment that we met in Big Island to like all the misalignments going through, and then being like, "What the hell am I doing?" To "Oh, this is who I am. Oh my God, this is my blueprint." And the awakenings you got, and then the manifestations that came through, and then like finally really stepping into who you're meant to be, right? Like really being a leader in your industry, throwing out those retreats, even if you're not sure exactly what the heck you're doing, but you're doing it.
We are. And we actually have a retreat coming up in June in Seattle that we're really excited about. So if anyone is interested, you can find me at soulevolutionretreats.com.
Yes. Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
time and amazing energy that you're impacting in the world. And, it's just a really honor to see you grow and to really blossom into who you're meant to be. And knowing now that you're meant to empower, inspire people, right? And stepping into that role, I mean, it's priceless.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, so amazing interviews. I love this stuff. So in the next year, I'm actually going to continue this, but I'm going to actually shift it a little bit into mastering your superpower, speaking with amazing industry leaders, also even more who are 6 to 7 figure owners or who have really been impacting in a bigger level. So I'm so excited about that. So until next time, I do this every 2 weeks, so you guys are going to see more of this interviews. All right, so you guys all have a beautiful day. Aloha.
Aloha.